Welcome to English Grammar Spot. This lesson is about the gerund and the infinitive. In this lesson I'm going to show you what a gerund is, when to use a gerund, what an infinitive is, and when to use an infinitive. Now there's not a very case of either you use a gerund or you use an infinitive. The gerund and the infinitive are simply grammatical tools which we use to construct a sentence. So it's not a difference as in say, oh, here you use a past simple and there you use a present perfect. Now take a look at these sentences. Sailing around the world is an adventure. I can't afford to go on holiday this year. In the first sentence, sailing is what we call a gerund. In the second sentence, to go is what we call an infinitive. Now, what is a gerund? A gerund is a verb to which ing is added. The gerund looks like a verb, but it is used as a noun. Moreover, it looks often like a continuous tense, but it is used differently. For example, eating in class is not allowed. Eating here is a gerund. Why? Because it's the subject of a sentence. It is a noun here. Whereas he was eating in class is a past continuous, because here it's used as a tense. Now, when do we use a gerund? First and foremost, we use the gerund often as a verbal noun, so a noun that looks like a verb. For example, smoking in public areas should be banned. So we have the verb to smoke, we've added ing, so we've made it into a noun, and it takes the position of the subject here. He quit smoking cigars when he was 25. Again, we've taken the verb to smoke, added ing, making it a noun, and then put it in the place of the object. So here it has become a noun. We also use the gerund after certain verbs. So these are not all the verbs, but these are the most common ones. To admit, to avoid, to consider, to deny, to enjoy, to finish, to involve, to keep, to mean, to practice, to quit, to remember, to stop, to understand, and to waste. So, for instance, I have to admit going to the cinema is very nice, for instance. We also use the gerund after prepositions. Besides swimming, we didn't do much, so besides here is a preposition. Or, I'm thinking of quitting my job. Again, of is a preposition, so it is preceded by a gerund. He looked at her without saying a word, and again, without is a preposition. Now, what is an infinitive? The verb itself is an infinitive, and it can be preceded by to, so here we call it then a to infinitive, or simply the verb itself, and that is the general infinitive. For example, to be honest, I love learning English, so to be is the to infinitive. I would rather help my mother, here help is the infinitive. Go and check if I've left the oven on. Go and check are both infinitives. Now, when do we use the to infinitive? Certain verbs take the to infinitive. For example, these verbs are to appear, to arrange, to bother, to choose, to decide, to feel, to hope, to learn, to manage, to offer, to plan, to refuse, to seem, to tend, to volunteer, to wish. So these are the most common ones. These are not all. So I appear to have lost my keys, for example. So to appear and to have then is the to infinitive. We also use the to infinitive after adjectives. It was difficult to see through the fog. So here, difficult is an adjective. She's happy to help us. Again, happy as an adjective takes the to infinitive. And it is easy to bake a cake. When to use a regular infinitive? After modals, we use the infinitive. Can, could, will, would, shall, may, might, must, and should are the modals, and these are generally preceded by the infinitive. So, for instance, I might wonder where my keys are. Now, as I said in the beginning of this video, people tend to be sort of troubled by the gerund in the infinitive in thinking that you either use the gerund or the infinitive, and there are strict rules to that. it is more complicated than that, but generally we can say that the gerund is used for things that have already happened. For example, he began playing baseball last year, as opposed to the infinitive, which is used for things that can or still happen. So it is still possible to win, or he will begin to play baseball next month, for instance. So that's generally the difference then between the two. And many verbs can be preceded by both the gerund and the infinitive. For example, to allow, to begin, to continue, to forget, to hate, to love, to intend, to like, to mean, to need, to prefer, to remember, to start, to stop, to try, to want. So it is a tricky thing, the gerund and the infinitive, but luckily in most cases it doesn't really matter which you use, only if you are careful enough to apply the rules that I've just talked to you about. So, well, the best of luck. And for regular updates, please subscribe to youtube.com/EnglishGrammarSpot or go to www.englishgrammarspot.com.